Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ears and your eyes. Diva Divine Light, live from Brooklyn, New York.
No delaying for what you saying, yo. Silly with my 9 milli with the dilly, yo. When I be on the mic, yes, I do my duty, yo. While up in the club, I be while in the studio. You don't wanna violate, nigga, really and truly, yo. My main thug nigga named Julio, he moody, yo. Like a nigga that'll slap me with the tulio. Bitch, nigga scared to death, act fruity, yo. Fuck that, look at shorty, she a little cutie, yo. The way you shake it, make me wanna get all in the booty, yo. With no delaying for what you saying, yo.
Diva Divine Light.
Really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Good boy, the dance with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Good boy, the dance with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you.
You're watching Diva, the Divine Light. A fun-loving, caring, passionate person who talks about sex, celebrity, and real-life issues, and even abuse. So hit that like button and make sure you share the show.
Really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Good more than dance with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Good more than dance with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Good more than dance with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you really my heart to me. That's what you got for me. Good more than dance with my eyes to see. Still $1 in the place to be. If you.
Here comes the pitch, and it comes in wide. On the combo.
Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back. How are you? I'm pretty sure you guys miss me. I miss you too. Hello, 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 hello to my OCOB family. Shout out to everyone in the building. Shout out to my OCO family. Larry, Atmos, Tears, Truth, and everybody else in the chat. What's up, guys? What's up? What's up? What's up? So, as we know, Milton Brown decided to step in here and interject and say, listen, I need to consolidate some motions too. And these are going to be my stipulations. Yeah, no, because he's so innocent in everything. Yeah, no. So, let me say hello to everyone in the chat. Once again, let me give you guys a personal shout out. Hey, rocking with the truth. What's up, mama? Okay, baby. I know, always working hard. I love you. K-Love. Hello, honey. Candy. Miss me, Miss Mo. What's up, ladies? T-Baby 42. My girl. I love you. Thank you so much for the alligator clip. It's beautiful. Guys, for those who smoke, you guys should know what an alligator clip is. You know, the clip for when you have the roaches and they're small and you don't want to burn your fingers. So you pinch it on a clip and you smoke it off the clip. Well, my girl T-Baby 42 designs beautiful ones. Let me show y'all real quick. So for my smoker ladies who are in this chat, let me know if you like them. I'll let T-Baby know. You got to hit me up. You know my number. You guys should know my number. My number should be in the about section of my YouTube channel. Okay? So let me show y'all this. See how beautiful it is? Isn't that so pretty? So this is the tip where I'm holding it. And you see the clip? You see it? So you put the bud there, the roach, the joint, clip it, and then you go. So if anyone would like one, let me know. She makes them, guys. Okay, T-Baby, let them know how much you charge, okay? Let me know. If they can reach out to you personally and you want to put your email or something in the chat, your business email or something, put it down, mama. Let them know. Let the people know. Let the people know. Okay, so hey, Bev Davis. What's up, mama? Yes, I'm looking forward to it too because I didn't get a chance to read it, but I did hear it from Larry. So yeah, it was quite interesting. Hey, Love is Fair. What's up, Tom Bella? Love is Fair. What's up, my papi? People don't like it when I call people papi. What's up, papi? What's up, Sonia? Hi, honey. Who else is here? Chiki. What's up, my Chiki lady? Kayla. What's up, mama? Hey, Unique. Yes, it is very fancy. Isn't that so pretty? Yeah, so just let me know. Hit me up, yo. Chiki, if you want one, ma. I need a pink one. All right, yo, Chiki, let me know. I'll give you my email information. How much are they? No, it's not for cigarettes, mama. It's for those blunts. The joints and the blunts. Yes. Matisse, what's up, mama? What's not mine, mama? What's not mine? That one wasn't mine? Oh, that's the one I took. Oh, well. Look, T-Baby says she get a family discount, y'all. Okay, guys, grab her email if you want one, okay? She's giving an OCOV discount. Anybody else? Sorry, you got to pay full price. You smoke cigarettes, mommy? Okay. Hey, Joanne. What's up, baby? All right, Cheeky. No problem. Hey, Indigo. What's up, mama? I shouted out to Mertice. What's up, Mertice, again? Yes, rocking with the truth. What's up? So, yes, thank you. Please make sure to hit that like button, y'all. All right. So let me get this together because then after this, I got to start cooking dinner. So I'm going to kind of read this. You know, I love you, T-Baby. You're my girl. That's my sis right there. Okay. Hey, Miss Lynn. What's up, baby? Hey, Julie. What's up, mama? Let me give you guys wrench. Julie. I don't know if, oh yeah, Caleb, I gave her one. You know, over here, I like to be a little blue so I can see all my people. Okay, yeah, Sonia got one. All right. Okay. All right. My family be blue up in here. Yes. Hey, shorty. Purple. What's up, my ladies? I miss you guys. Hi. Kayla, ya tú sabes. I know, baby. Do what you gotta do, mamita, as long as you listen to me. If you guys, do what y'all gotta do, cook, make lunch, go to work, whatever y'all doing, just chilling, listening to the lady. All right, Chiqui Mama. I think she made one for my mom. Yeah, my mom's is pink, right? See, baby, my mom's was pink. Hey, his lordship. What's up, boo-boo? What's up, puppy? Yo, you need to come up on my panel one day. Just tell me, drop the link. You know, if I'm in the middle of talking some shit and you want to jump in, you know you're more than welcome over here on my side. I don't know what it is that you're going through over there with those crazy people wherever you be roaming. But, you know, over here we love you. So, you know, we don't treat you like that. Bendito. I get so upset when I see that stupid shit for you. I'm like, what is he doing? Oh, my God. Ugh. People just can't handle the truth sometimes from people. You know. It happens to the best of us. Tears! Baby! What's up, my tears? Pettiboo! What's up, Pettiboo? Hi, mama. Karen A. What's up, Karen A? Hi, baby. All right, all right. Okay, I'm about to email you now. All right, mommy. Tell me, I guess, what kind of colors you want. Oh, look, and she has all colors, she said, yo. So let me know if you want to mix it up or whatever, because mine, I got pink. Gold. It looks like pink. I got a green bowl in there. I got like a pearl. She makes them so beautiful. So if you want it all pink or you want different colors in there, she'll add it, yo. She does them. She's so beautiful. And they have the little chains hanging. They're so cute with little charms. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, C baby. That's my gift from my lady. She loves me so. It came in the mail. I was so happy. I was like, oh my God. I love getting little gifts. If you guys, you know my address, or if you do ever want to send me something, let me know, okay? I love little surprise gifts. And so that's like when 504 gave me that cake. Oh my God. I was like, this shit is huge. What is this? I opened it up. I was like, oh, something for my diabetes. Oh my God. But I shared it with the whole family, up and down. Because, I got 2 floors. So I shared it with me and my mom's family. I love you too. Right? They look like bracelets. They're so cute. They have little bracelets hanging from them. It's the cutest thing. Exactly, mama. You won't have to have your fingers smelling, yes, or turning brown and stuff like that. That shit is the bomb. It works. Hey, Damien. What's up, puppy? Now, let me make sure. Are you a boy or a girl? Please, because I get confused with people over here. Damien, let me know. Hey, Queen. What's up, chula? All right, so let's get to this work. Let's get to this work. Let me share my screen, y'all. Okay. So as we know, as I said, Milton Brown put in a consolidated motion, just like the government did. Okay. And this was filed on the 14th, okay, 3 days ago. 17 pages long, y'all, okay. And it's the United States of America versus Milton Brown. Milton Brown's consolidated motions in limine. Limine means evidence that wants to be put in or taken out. Okay. Defendant Milton Brown by the Federal Defender Program and its attorney, Mary H. Judge, respectfully moves the court in limine for entry of orders excluding or admitting certain evidence and argument as set forth below. Hold on a second. $3:30. Okay. Now, okay, so as we said, motion in limine for entry of orders excluding or admitting certain evidence and arguments as set forth below. Background. On February 13th of 2020, the government filed a 13-count superseding indictment charging Robert Kelly, Daryl McDavid, and Milton Brown with a host of offenses. Count 6 of the indictment charges Mr. Brown with receiving child pornography in violation of 18 U.S.C. sections 2252A, A2, and B1. Specifically, the indictment alleges that from 2001 to 2007, Mr. Brown conspired with Mr. Kelly, McDavid, individual A, and individual B to receive video 2, video 3, and video 4. Now, as we know it to be, guys, remember that video 4 is not really there. Okay? So in reality, remember, there are actually 3 videos, physical, tangible videos. The 4th video is just going to be where the witnesses, the actual persons that were in the video, are going to say that they were in that video. And that's the video that they had to be questioned about a polygraph between Lisa Van Allen and Keith Murrow, because she, right, gave Keith Murrow that tape. That was her with RL and Mr. Kelly on it. So Keith Murrow had that tape. The other 2 tapes, we don't know where they came from. Okay. But obviously somebody, individual A and individual B, knew where those other 2 tapes were, and they knew who to retrieve them from. So individual A and individual B, as what we know it to be, could be the 2 detectives. Keith Murrow and Charles Freeman. Charles Freeman and Jack Palladino. I'm telling you, I have a feeling he's in this. I don't know for sure, but I think he's individual A. I'm not sure, but I'm getting this feeling that it's him. That's just my opinion. That's not fact. For a fact, what we do know for a fact is that Keith Murrow is involved. We know Lisa Van Allen is involved, for sure. We know Charles Freeman must be involved, okay? But Jack Palladino or, I don't know, I think it's Jack Palladino, honestly. If you pay attention to this case and you know and you've read articles, you would assume that individual A would be Jack Palladino, but Jack Palladino he's passed. May he rest in peace. He was killed. Some guys try to steal his camera because he took pictures of them, and they didn't like it. They figured he was being a spy or whatever, and they attacked him, and they dragged him for like a half a block or something like that by his camera. He held on. And they did catch the guys because as that happened, the camera was taking pictures. So it actually got pictures of the assailants. So the suspects were found and they are charged. I don't believe that they have gotten sentenced or anything like that yet. So let's continue. So according to counts 1 through 4, those 3 videos depict minor 1. Okay, we all know who minor 1 is, right? So count 5 alleges that Kelly employed Mr. Brown from approximately 1997 to approximately 2019. So he knows a lot. Because if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Brown was one of R. Kelly's personal assistants. Right? Give me 1 second, y'all. Yeah, okay. Never mind. My son did his duty. Closed the door. Okay. So specifically, the indictment alleges that from 2001 to 2007, Mr. Brown conspired. Hey. I don't know what's going on with my kids. They're bugging out now. Okay. From 2001 to 2007, they conspired, okay, to get the videos back. And Mr. Brown had worked for him from 1997 to 2019. It's a long time. He's been around and he knows a lot. And he's very complicit with R. Kelly and the enterprise. Here are the main goons of the enterprise. Let's be real here. Okay? They managed everything, R. Kelly. Now, importantly, count 6, which is what Mr. Brown is being charged with. Okay? Count 6 is the only count that he is being charged with. Now, this count should permit that Mr. Brown to admit evidence of his own character. So he wants the government to be able to submit character evidence for him. Okay. Say he's a good guy, he's done this, he has children, and we love him, and so, and no blah, blah, blah. Right? So Federal Rule of Evidence 404A states that an accused may introduce evidence of a pertinent trait of his character. So the word pertinent is read synonymous with relevant. So consequently, the basic question is whether the character trait in question would make any fact of consequence to the determination. Now, of the case, more or less probable than it would be without evidence of the trait. Such admissible character evidence may be proved by testimony about Mr. Brown's reputation or by testimony in the form of an opinion. And additionally, specific instances of Mr. Brown's character may be introduced if that character is an essential element of a charge, claim, or defense. So Federal Rule Evidence 405, evidence that Mr. Brown is a law-abiding citizen, person, shall I say, would tend to make it less likely that he would knowingly break the law by retrieving child pornography. Did they really just say that? His lawyer just said, Brown is a law-abiding person who would tend to make it less likely that he would knowingly break the law by retrieving child pornography. So because he's a law-abiding citizen, therefore, he can't commit no crime. Are you kidding me? Oh, Lord. She's got to do what she's got to do. Good one. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good defense. So, the Supreme Court, in the case law that they cited, it said that the Supreme Court stated that possession of characteristics, including being a law-abiding citizen, okay, because he pays taxes, would seem incompatible with offering a bribe to a revenue agent. The Supreme Court stated that in this case that they cited, possession of characteristics, including being a law abiding citizen, would seem incompatible with offering a bribe to a revenue agent, which was the crime charged in that case, right? So then it says that the character evidence is admissible to show a party's general renown for honesty and lawfulness. How is he being honest when he knew he was walking around with a fucking tape that had child pornography on it? Are you kidding me? Don't tell me he didn't know. R. Kelly was like, here, take this tape to the other office, or take this tape to whoever, or get this tape back from so and so. And you're like, I gotta go get a tape? Okay. And you don't know what's on that tape? Come on now. Womp, womp, womp. I don't trust that. No. Hold on one second. My son is raging. Give me a moment, please. All right. Sorry about that, guys. My son, you know how he is when he's playing that damn Warzone or Call of Duty or whatever the heck he play over there. So, okay, so character evidence is admissible to show a party's general renown for honesty and lawfulness. Ultimately, there is no indication of a general common law rule against the admissibility of evidence of law abidingness, as distinguished from good character generally, which, as noted, was usually held inadmissible. And then they cite a case law, and then he says that, shall I say, his lawyer says, because Milton Brown did know the relevant materials at issue here constituted child pornography. Example, that it, one, depicted sexually explicit conduct, and two, that the depicted conduct involved minors. So his trait of law abidingness is relevant and admissible under Rule 404A. Wow, that's funny. Mm, mm, mm. Two, so this is the second motion. This court should preclude the government from eliciting testimony regarding certain other crimes, wrongs, and acts by Mr. Brown. So, A, this court should bar the government from eliciting testimony from minors 4 and 6 regarding the times Mr. Brown booked hotel rooms or otherwise made travel arrangements for them. Why wouldn't we want to not put that in? That should go in, right? I would think it should go in. Now, the government may seek to elicit testimony by minor 4 and minor 6 under Federal Rule of Evidence 404B2. Specifically, the government may seek to admit statements by witnesses, including minor 4 and minor 6, that Mr. Brown reserved hotel rooms for minors on behalf of co-defendant Robert Kelly. Testifying before a grand jury, minor 4 had stated, okay, So minor 4, which we don't know who they are, has stated that she says, I talked about a time when I went with my friend to pick up a hotel key from Abe, who was at the front desk of Rob's record studio. Tracks. Okay. Before that happened, I had a conversation with Rob's assistant, Milton June Brown. June was the one who told me that Rob wanted me to get a hotel room and wait there for Rob. June wanted me to reserve the hotel room for myself. I told him that I couldn't do that because I was only 16 years old. Yeah, how can a 16-year-old go and book a hotel or a flight? Can't happen. You need an adult. You have to be 18 or over to catch a flight or book a hotel. You cannot be 16 years old. Now, appearing before the same grand jury, minor 6 testified. And she said, when we traveled and before I was over the age of 18, Rob had employees who would help arrange my flights and who would meet me at the hotels to give me keys to the hotel rooms. Often, the people who helped with arranging flights and hotels were Milton June Brown and Junebug. Now, remember, Junebug is R. Kelly's cousin. Now, I believe that June and Junebug knew that I was under the age of 18 because I could not get my own hotel rooms. Okay. Minor 4 grand jury transcript, April 24th, 2019. I'm going to highlight that. Didn't I just turn off his phone? Roberto from Police. Sorry, Roberto. Okay. So there's a grand jury transcript. I wonder if we can get that transcript. Okay. So it continued to say, I could not get my own hotel rooms, and they had to do it for me. June met me at a hotel and gave me a room key when I was still under the age of 18, at least 10 times. The probative value of those statements, if any, would presumably be to demonstrate knowledge under Rule 404b2, insofar as the statements would suggest Mr. Brown knew that the individuals were minors because they could not reserve hotel rooms on their own and needed Mr. Brown to do so for them. So these statements should be barred under Rules 802 and 404b1. Now, the reason why I could see the government using that particular evidence would be to prove, like they said, that these girls were underage and that Mr. Brown knew it. And so did Mr. Kelly and everybody else that was in that whole scenario. But they don't want that in there. So generally, evidence of other acts is inadmissible to prove a person's character in order to show that on a particular occasion the person acted in accordance with the character. Federal Rule Evidence 404b1. There is, however, an exception to that general rule where the evidence is admitted to prove motive, opportunity, intent, preparation, plan, knowledge, identity, absence of mistake, or lack of accident. Federal Rule Evidence 404b2. Now, in determining whether prior bad acts evidence would be properly admitted under Rule 404B, courts previously considered whether 1. The evidence is direct toward establishing a matter in issue other than the defendant's propensity to commit the crime charged. 2. The evidence shows that the other act is similar enough and close enough in time to be relevant to the matter in issue. 3. The evidence is sufficient to support a jury finding that the defendant committed the similar act. 4. The probative value of the evidence is not substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice as required by Rule 403. And then it cites case laws. And then it also states that Minor 6's grand jury transcript September 12th of 2009, pages 17 to 19. I wonder if I can get this grand jury transcripts. I'm really wondering here. I doubt it, but let's see. So then it says the case law, and then it says that under these case laws, the Seventh Circuit jettisoned the above 4-part test, which some had come to treat as an artificial checklist, in favor of a more straightforward rules-based approach. Still, the Gomez court made sure to note that the 4 factors or steps of the old test touch on the principles of Rule 404. For instance, the court noted that step 2 of the test, which required an inquiry into the similarity and timing of the other act, is loosely connected to the basic principles of relevance found in Rules 401 and 402. Expanding on that, the Gomez court restated the principle in positive terms as the extent to which a proffered other crime, wrong, or act is close in time and similar to the conduct at issue in the case may have bearing on its relevance. So, like I said, they're trying to say that all of that is irrelevant and it doesn't need to be in there because it's irrelevant to the case. But I see that they're using it as a tool to prove that Mr. Brown knew that he was carrying things that evidence that contained minors on a video, known as Child's P, right? So the alleged hotel reservations and travel arrangements made by Mr. Brown are irrelevant to the allegations in count 6. First, hotel reservations and travel arrangements for minors 4 and 6 are irrelevant to the charge Mr. Brown is facing and therefore should be inadmissible. It's crazy how they didn't put, they should have put them in the racketeering charge too. Him and Daryl McDavid, both their asses should have went in that racketeering case. That's what I think. Now, as it concerns Mr. Brown, this case involves only one count, count 6, and only one minor 1 in that count. Mr. Brown is accused of receiving child pornography depicting one minor, making travel arrangements and reserving hotel rooms on behalf of an employer are actions that are not all similar to receiving child pornography. So additionally, those prior acts occurred years before the conduct alleged in count 6. Simply put, Mr. Brown's knowledge of other victims' minority statuses, example minor 4 and minor 6, is not relevant to whether Mr. Brown knew the minority of the individual depicted in the videotapes at issue in count 6, example minor 1. So they're trying to say that minor 4 and minor 6 had nothing to do with minor 1, so why even involve her? Then the other part of that is that the other crimes, wrongs, or acts here are improper propensity evidence. Second, because Mr. Brown is charged only in count 6, which involves minor 1's minority status alone. So the prior bad acts evidence discussed here would, even if relevant, be improper propensity evidence under Rule 404B1. The value of these statements to the government may be that since Mr. Brown allegedly aided Kelly's exploitation of other minors or knew that Kelly had relations with other minors. The jury might be more inclined to believe that Mr. Brown would have been more likely to have aided Kelly in obtaining the videotapes depicting minor one at issue in count 6. So alternatively, these prior acts would presumably be offered to show an increased likelihood that Mr. Brown should have known that the tapes at issue in count 6 involved a minor. Those 404b2 purposes, however, are not enough. In Gomez, the Seventh Circuit clarified the problem of multiple prior bad acts evidence purposes. Example, cases where the evidence involves both improper propensity uses and ostensibly, ostensibly, ostensibly proper Rule 404b2 uses as follows. We have cautioned that it's not enough for the proponent of the other act evidence simply to point to a purpose in the permitted list and assert that the other act evidence is relevant to it. So Rule 404b is not just concerned with the ultimate conclusion, but also with the chain of reasoning that supports the non-propensity purpose for admitting the evidence. In other words, the rule allows the use of other act evidence only when its admission is supported by some propensity-free chain of reasoning. This is not to say that other act evidence must be excluded whenever a propensity inference can be drawn. Rather, Rule 404b excludes the evidence if its relevance to another purpose is established only through the forbidden propensity inference. And then it states another says identifying the underlying principle. The Gomez court explained that the principle that emerges from these recent cases is that the district court should not just ask whether the proposed other act evidence is relevant to a non-propensity purpose, but how exactly the evidence is relevant to that purpose, or more specifically, how the evidence is relevant without relying on a propensity inference. Emphasizes added by underlying italics in original. Okay, so looking at the chain of reasoning here, we see that both of the above hypothetical Rule 404b2 uses suffer from and depend on propensity inferences. Indeed, the statements necessarily involve propensity inference of the worst kind. Now, first, they depend on an inference that when allegedly working with Kelly to retrieve the tapes, Mr. Brown acted in accordance with his prior unrelated conduct. Further, they also depend on 3 additional, even more troubling inferences unrelated to Mr. Brown's own character. 1, that Kelly, when producing the tapes, acted in accordance with his prior conduct. 2, given Kelly's prior conduct, the person depicted on the tape was likely a minor as well. 3, that Kelly would have been more likely to ask Mr. Brown to retrieve the videotapes because Kelly had employed Mr. Brown to facilitate his prior unrelated conduct involving minors. Thus, the statements would violate the principle articulated in Gomez. So, in sum, the government should be barred from eliciting such testimony. First, the other act's evidence constitutes inadmissible hearsay. Second, the other acts are too dissimilar and distant in time to be relevant to the allegations in count 6. Third, the other act's evidence constitutes impermissible propensity evidence because the chain of reasoning necessarily includes propensity inferences. So this court should bar the government from eliciting testimony from individuals D and B regarding Mr. Brown's role in arranging an abortion for one or more of Kelly's alleged partners. So Keith Merle, which is individual B, and individual D's Lisa. Okay, now Keith is going to, I guess, corroborate Lisa's testimony about her having an abortion. And she wrote about it in her book. If you guys get a chance, I have her book. I've read it. It's in my playlist. You can go check that out. Now, the government may seek to elicit testimony from individual D regarding the role Mr. Brown may have played in her abortion. Specifically, the government may elicit testimony from individual D that Kelly paid for the abortion and that Mr. Brown, acting as Kelly's assistant, made the abortion appointment, drove individual D to the appointment, and posed as individual D's uncle. Hold on a second. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Let me continue. Okay. So, drove individual D to the appointment and posed as individual D's uncle when they filled out the paperwork for the procedure. Additionally, the government may seek to elicit speculative testimony from individual B that Mr. Brown and others arranged abortions for minors on Kelly's behalf and that Mr. Brown and others had asked him about abortion laws. Individual B, that Mr. Brown and others asked him about abortion laws. What? Now, why would you want to go and find out about abortion laws if you knew that what was happening was with a legal individual, someone who was able to do this? Because the minor can get an abortion without an adult to consent to it. So, as with motion Limine number 2A, the prior acts here, example, Mr. Brown's alleged conduct in arranging abortions, are irrelevant. First, individual D was either 19 or 20 years old at the time and was therefore not a minor. Second, individual D's minority status is not at issue in the case as it concerns Mr. Brown. Okay, so she wasn't a minor. She was of age, 19 or 20. Okay. So, but he paid for it. So I guess he had to be there to make sure she did what she was there to do. That's probably why he went. So, third, there is no indication that minor one is one of the minors who were rumored to have received an abortion arranged by Mr. Brown. Oh, snap. Okay. So he could have arranged an abortion for RL. So fourth, these abortion allegations are not similar or close enough in time to be relevant to the allegations in count 6. Further, should this court determine that the testimony is relevant, the court should exclude it as unduly prejudicial under Federal Rule of Evidence 403. Under Rule 403, the court may exclude relevant evidence if its probative value is substantially outweighed by a danger of unfair prejudice, confusing the jury, or wasting time. So evidence is unduly prejudicial if it creates a genuine risk that the emotions of the jury will be excited to irrational behavior, and the risk is disproportionate to the probative value of the offered evidence. Now, it cites another case, and that says that testimony that Mr. Brown arranged abortions for minors is obviously likely to elicit a strong negative emotional response from jurors. So, additionally, because those rumored and alleged abortions involve people other than minor one, and because the ages of those people, including minors and adults, varied significantly between the ages of 16 to 20 years old, there is substantial risk that the testimony would confuse jurors. What little probative value the evidence may have is substantially outweighed by the risk of unduly prejudiced and confusing jurors. Accordingly, Mr. Brown moves to bar the government from eliciting such testimony. C. The court should, all these people to me are all guilty. They all helped out R. Kelly. They all protected him. I mean, why would these people want to buy up tapes that not R. Kelly is not on? It's confusing. He was on these tapes with these minors. And the government has the evidence to back it up. And he's going down, and so is everybody else. And they're not going to separate these guys at all. They're not. It's going to be denied. All of it. Every last one of these motions that have come out are going to be denied. Now, the court should preclude the government from eliciting testimony from individual B regarding Mr. Brown's role in visiting concert attendees backstage for Kelly. For inviting concert attendees backstage for Kelly. So the government may seek to elicit testimony from individual B regarding the role Mr. Brown may have played in inviting minor concert attendees to meet Kelly. Specifically, the government may prompt individual B to testify that Kelly would identify girls ranging in age from 16 to 20 years old in the audience and instruct his employees, including Mr. Brown, to invite them backstage. For the reasons discussed in motion number 2A, this court should bar the government from eliciting testimony as to Mr. Brown's role in inviting concert attendees backstage to meet Kelly. Okay, so again, the girls did not chase R. Kelly. R. Kelly sought out these girls. His enterprise, his enablers, his handlers, his people went and snatched up these girls, gave them passes, brought them backstage, didn't ID them. I'm pretty sure they weren't ID'd. Maybe a couple were and a couple weren't. Who knows? And if they were ID'd, I'm pretty sure if they looked young, he didn't even care. Right? Because that's what it's alleging here. He didn't care. He didn't care about their ages. Period. He just wanted girls. And he liked young girls. He loved all women. But he has a preference for young girls. He has a hunger for young girls. Period. So there is no indication that minor one was one of the attendees who Mr. Brown invited to meet Kelly in this way. Now, we know that that's not true because we know that R. Kelly was introduced to Rashana Landfair by Sparkle. Because Sparkle introduced her family to R. Kelly so that they were a musical family. So that they can each get some type of position working. Right? There's no harm in that. What is the harm there? You don't think that your child is going to get molested by somebody that you trust in the industry because you're there to do work. And this man is preying on a little girl behind people's backs, paying her off, making movies with her, and then having her do threesomes, and then doing sadomasochistic acts on her. That is wrong. You people don't see nothing wrong with the grown ass 40-year-old man. Excuse me. You don't see nothing wrong with a 40-year-old man, 37-year-old man messing around with a 14-year-old girl and making movies? You don't see nothing wrong with that? I don't understand how these supporters cannot see nothing wrong with that. It's all in black and white here, guys. Like, it's here. The evidence is there. And none of it is fake. And that's going to be proven in court. Wait till you see it. What's going to be your excuse then? I want to know. So, moreover, Mr. Brown played no role whatsoever in the introduction of minor one to Kelly. That I can agree. Also, there is no indication that Mr. Brown witnessed Kelly engage in sexual activity with any of the attendees that he invited backstage. That can be true because Mr. Kelly did not do things in front of people he didn't want them to see things. So those he didn't want to see things, he hid things from. His security would just drop the girls off, walk away. His handlers would knock on the doors, leave food at the door, and walk away. They weren't even allowed to greet the girls. How about that? Also, there is no indication that Mr. Brown witnessed Kelly engage in sexual activity with any of the attendees that he invited backstage. Again, this conduct is not similar enough to be relevant to the allegations in count 6. Further, if this court finds that it is relevant, it should preclude testimony as to the acts under Rule 403. As with the abortion discussed above, the alleged conduct here would unduly prejudice and confuse the jurors. 3. This court should bar the government from eliciting expert testimony from unqualified witnesses. So the government may seek to have law enforcement witnesses provide opinion testimony about child pornography generally, including typical offender behavior. This testimony would be based on special knowledge and expertise outside that which the average lay person possesses. So it would be inadmissible as lay testimony under the federal rule evidence of 701, and then it states a case law. And in this case law, it says that expert testimony generally involves technical concepts beyond ordinary understanding. As such, before being permitted to elicit such testimony, the government should be required to qualify that witness as an expert. See Federal Rule Evidence for 702. If the government does not seek to qualify a witness as an expert, that witness should be limited to giving fact testimony, and only these opinions or inferences that are not based on specialized knowledge such as that witness participation in the investigation and statements made by others, if not precluded by the hearsay rules. See Federal R Evidence 701. The government may seek to avoid the expert testimony requirements by characterizing these witnesses as summary witnesses or claiming they are merely summarizing evidence. But merely claiming that witnesses are summary witnesses does nothing to alter the application of Rule 701 and 702, because such law enforcement witness testimony would be based on knowledge about child pornography, about which lay people are uninformed. 702 would be triggered. The government should not be allowed to circumvent the rules for expert testimony and take away this court's important gatekeeping role merely by characterizing these witnesses as summary witnesses. Particular, whereas here, Mr. Brown is making this objection well in advance of the testimony. So he wants to try to get off, period. Like, he just doesn't want certain things to be in to prove him to be some type of monster. He's really not a monster. He was just doing his job, protecting R. Kelly. And he don't know what R. Kelly's doing. He's just walking around and just taking orders without knowing what he's doing. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, number 4, this court should preclude government witnesses from providing summaries or statements from interviewed witnesses for non-testifying individuals. The Sixth Amendment provides a criminal defendant with the right to be confronted with the witnesses against him. Okay, U.S. Constitution Amendment 4. This bedrock procedural guarantee protects against convictions based on out-of-court accusations that the defendant cannot test in the crucible of cross-examination. Crawford versus Washington. To satisfy the confrontation clause, testimonial statements of witnesses absent from trial may be admitted only where the declarant is unavailable and only where the defendant has had a prior opportunity to cross-examine. So despite the confrontation clause agree, there are some limited expectations. So in other words, they don't want this testimonies that people written to come in because these people can't be cross-examined on the stand. So despite the confrontation clause guarantee, there are some limited exceptions, as the Seventh Circuit noted, that we have explained that such out-of-court statements are admissible as non-hearsay when offered to make a defendant's recorded statements intelligible for the jury. That is for context, or when brief and essential to bridge gaps in the trial testimony that might significantly confuse or mislead jurors. Then they cite another case law, and it says that still in that very decision, the Seventh Circuit immediately cautioned that these limited non-hearsay uses do not open the door for law enforcement officers to narrate the course of their investigation and thus spread before juries damning information that is not subject to cross-examination. So having repeated that warning, the Seventh Circuit then offered the following criticism of the government's use of out-of-court statements. The government repeatedly hides behind its asserted needs to provide context and relate the course of the investigation. These euphemistic descriptions cannot disguise a ploy to pin the two guns on defendant while avoiding the risk of putting the non-testifying informant on the stand. Thus, the Seventh Circuit has made clear that the exceptions to the confrontation clause must be limited if it is to not eviscerate the constitutional right to confront and cross-examine one's accusers. So additionally, other circuits have taken a similar strong stance. Consider, for example, the Fifth Circuit's recent warning against the use of out-of-state court statements against criminal defendants in the United States versus Hammond. In that case, Officer Stanley offered testimony to explain how the Drug Enforcement Administration became interested in Hammond. When testifying, he offered the testimonial hearsay of non-testifying witnesses, a confidential source, an unknown declarant, and a non-testifying officer. The confidential source, Stanley testified, told him that Hammond was moving multiple ounces of meth. The unknown declarant, Stanley testified, told other law enforcement agencies that Hammond was selling narcotics. Then Stanley proceeded to recount the controlled purchase that justified the search warrant, and veered off course again when he described the controlled buy that was witnessed not by Stanley but by another officer who never testified. So when evaluating Hammond's confrontation clause challenge, the Fifth Circuit outlined its inquiry as follows. We asked 3 questions to determine whether admitted evidence violated the confrontation clause. First, did the evidence introduce a testimonial statement by a non-testifying witness? 2, was any such statement offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted? 3, was the non-testifying witness available to testify, or was the defendant deprived of an opportunity to cross-examine him? If the answer to each of those questions is yes, the confrontation clause was violated. Okay, and applying that test, the Fifth Circuit found that the government had violated the confrontation clause because it was testimonial. The primary purpose was to establish events relevant to criminal prosecution. Offered for the truth of the matter asserted, the evidence blatantly linked the defendant to the crime. And the non-testifying witnesses were not unavailable, and the defendant did not get a chance to cross-examine them. Turning to the decision's reasoning, the Fifth Circuit's discussion of the confidential sources statement is beneficial. But for our purposes, the most relevant analysis is that of Stanley's testimony, regarding the controlled buy. Accordingly, the following excerpt provides the Fifth Circuit's reasoning as to that testimony. Let me grab some water, y'all. So Stanley's testimony regarding the controlled buy, accordingly, the following excerpt provides the Fifth Circuit's reasoning as to the testimony. It's true that if Stanley had provided only his own observations, there would be no confrontation clause problem. But Stanley was unequivocal. He didn't personally have eyes on the hotel where the controlled purchase happened. Instead, he listened by radio to another officer describing what was happening and debriefed the source after the sale. A man who listened to a Dodgers game on the radio and spoke to a friend who attended the game doesn't have personal knowledge of the game's winner. Vin Scully and the friend do. That man couldn't testify about the game without relying on the accuracy of third parties' observation, and neither could Stanley testify about the controlled purchase without doing the same. Okay, so in other words, they're trying to say that with the whole thing with the testimonies and entering certain testimonies of people who are not going to testify, it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen because those people weren't actually there. And those people were just listening to hearsay. Either they heard it here or they heard it there or somebody told them. So it's not direct evidence. It's, according to them, hearsay is what they're saying. So lastly, the Fifth Circuit admonished the government for not heeding its warning against backdooring highly inculpatory hearsay. See, like I said, via and explaining the investigation rationale and failing to be circumspect and limited in its use of such out-of-court statements. So with this authority in mind, Mr. Brown asked this court to exclude from trial any reference to the statements of other non-testifying individuals as violative of the confrontation clause. So additionally, under Rule 802, Mr. Brown asked this court to exclude any hearsay statements not subject to Rule 801 exceptions. Number 5. This court should preclude the government from making golden rule arguments with regard to the jury and the defendants. Now, the government may ask the jury to put themselves in Mr. Brown's shoes and ask them to consider what they would have done if they were him. Any such arguments, regardless of the evidentiary circumstances in which the government might make them, are impermissible because they are golden rule arguments. So commenting on that impropriety, the Seventh Circuit has noted that a golden rule appeal in which the jury is asked to put itself in the defendant's position is universally recognized as improper because it encourages the jury to depart from neutrality and to decide the case on the basis of personal interest and bias rather than on the evidence. So simply put, the government should not ask the jurors to put themselves in the defendant's shoes. So now he's asking that the lawyers, the government, the prosecutors not say the words, well, put yourself in the defendant's shoes. If you were in his shoes, what would you do? Simply put, the government should not ask the jurors to put themselves in the defendant's position. OMG. And in conclusion, for the above stated reasons, Mr. Brown respectfully requests that this court grant his motions in limine. Mr. Brown also requests that this court allow him to submit additional motions in limine in response to subsequent discovery productions. Notice as to Rule 702 or 404 evidence and the filing of witness and exhibit lists. Oh, okay. So Mr. Brown is going to come out with another motion, guys. Okay, so we should be waiting to see that one. And in that one, he's going to argue about evidence that is in the discovery. And he also wants to talk about the witness and exhibit list. So that should be interesting. So let's see what Judge Lineweber has to say about this and if he's going to grant it. I don't know if under this, I don't know when the judge, as far as we know, Judge Lineweber likes to do minute entries. So he's kind of like the minute man, you know, he does shit right then and there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's get it over with. Here's my answer to this. Here's my answer to that. If we have to have a hearing, we will. If I have to respond to you by mail, I will. So he's a minute by minute man. He's not like Judge Donnelly. Okay. He's a little different, this guy. Yes, he is. Mm-hmm. So that is the end of that, guys. So Mr. June Brown is trying to act like he didn't know what he had in his possession. He was just complicit but blind. That's the weirdest shit I've ever heard. You know, it kind of reminds me of that movie, The Transporter. Have you guys ever seen that movie? If you guys have ever seen that movie, put a 1 in the chat. If you guys have seen that movie, The Transporter. Have you guys seen this movie? Let me see. Has anybody seen this movie? Has anyone seen The Transporter? The Transporter was played with what's his name again? Jason Statham. Jason Statham. Okay, The Transporter. Oh, True Strength. She said no. Well, in the movie The Transporter, now his job is to transport, right? Okay. So he would go and collect things to transport. He would get hired to transport items. Now, he was not allowed to know what he was transporting. All he knew was that he had to do a job, and it was to take this item and from point A and bring it to point B. And he had to make sure that he had it delivered within a certain amount of time or there would be problems. It was a pretty good movie, guys. If you guys get a chance, search it on Google and you can find it somewhere streaming on one of your streaming apps somewhere. Check it out. It's a very, very good action movie. And you'll see what I mean because, you know, sometimes as this fictional character, the transporter, he did these things. He would just take a package and transport it. He didn't want to know what it was because it was for protection for himself and others. Because if, say, he got stopped and somebody wanted to try to hijack him, he don't know nothing. He don't know anything. He don't know the name of the person that he was working for. He just knew he had to take the money. They would drop off or ship the money or put the money into his account and he would do the job. That's it. That's all. He didn't want to know nothing about nothing. Y'all got to check out that movie if y'all got a chance. The Transporter. Yeah, that is a good movie. It's a very, very good movie. And you'll see what I mean. You know, but he worked independently. He worked for himself. He didn't work for nobody. He worked for himself. But, you know, he worked for himself as a transporter, but he was hired by other people. You know, he was subcontracted, let's say. Okay? Just like a hitman. You know what I mean? This is a really good movie. You know, so I can believe that some people can actually transport items without knowing what's in them. So it can happen. But is there sufficient evidence to prove that you did not know what was in that package? You have to, because the government has the burden of proof to prove that you are guilty beyond the reasonable doubt. But you have to try to persuade the jury that you're innocent and that you didn't know this and that you didn't know that. So you still have to persuade the jury somehow. Good luck with that. So I found that to be very interesting. Okay. So, guys, I wanted to speak about one little thing real quick. Okay. Remember I was telling you guys about the I Believe I Can Fly Foundation? Right? Let me hold on 1 second. All right. Where is it again? I gotta find. I hope I put it here. I don't remember where I put it. Let's see. Okay, so it's not here. It's probably in this one. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'm trying to look through a file real quick. Hold on, I'm going to use the restroom. Okay, I'm back. All right. All right, let me see something. Oh, let me see something. Oh, darn it. I didn't want to. Okay, wait. Go back. I don't know where I put that article at. Give me a second, guys. I am so sorry. So hello, T-Bam. What's up, Mama? What's up, Aisha? What's up? Just the tea, please. What's up, lady? Love is Fair said they put Surviving R. Kelly back on Netflix. Oh, they did. Oh wow, okay. I know that they had it on Amazon Prime, Lifetime, and one other place. I forgot where was the other one. Hey, Miss April. Hey, Missy Mama. What's up, sissy? What's up, True Strong? What's up, baby? Hey, Tasha. What's up, lady? If someone asked me to do what these people did for him, I would go to the cops and sing like a canary. I mean, because a lot of people are complicit to these crimes because they all wanted a paycheck at the end of the day. Okay. Um, where is it? Okay, here it is. I found it. All right. Okay. Okay, let's see. What is this here? No, this is a commercial. Why is there this? I hate this stupid shit. Um, I hate when they show these ads. Like, ugh. Please let me close this shit. Give me a second, guys. I'm having an issue here. Okay, close that. Thank you. Okay. So, come to find out that the reason why R. Kelly had this I Believe I Can Fly foundation. Let me share my screen with y'all. Okay. I'm going to a window, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Now you guys see this here on the screen. I don't know if am I sharing my screen? Wait, I'll check, make sure it's sharing. Oh yeah, okay. Sharing. Hey, Lesmit. What's up, mama? Julie said that guy is a great actor. Yes. Statham, he sure is. I love his work. Awesome guy. Definitely. All right, let me go back. Wait, I've got to go here. Okay. So as you can see, guys, on your screen, this is the I Believe I Can Fly Foundation. Now, this is a nonprofit organization. Okay, and it's from Oak Park, Illinois. Okay. And this organization has not appeared on the IRS Business Master file in a number of months. It may have merged with another organization or ceased operations. This organization is not registered with the IRS. Not anymore, but it was. Okay. Now, they did have a mission. I gather they had a mission statement, but it was taken down due to it being closed. Okay. And the ruling year, which is the year the IRS granted an organization tax exempt status, was 2002. So this is when he opened up the foundation. Okay. This is when he opened up the foundation in 2002. And this is the EIN number. Okay. And in here, they had the tax forms, 990 forms for 2014, 2013, and 2012. So, 2014, we all know that Daryl McDavid sued R. Kelly, right? So Daryl McDavid and R. Kelly fell out in 2014. So from then on, he picked up another manager, which I guess I don't know who that was. in 2014 or 15 who was managing R. Kelly, who was it Keith, who decided to take this role over, right? So private independent foundation, okay. Now there is a taxonomy record associated with the code T22. Okay. Now, this code is independent foundations. Now, it's exempt. This is an exempt entity. So they're exempt from paying taxes. And his private independent foundation has to do with philanthropy, volunteerism, and grant making foundations. So when we go into philanthropy, volunteerism, and grant making foundations, this is what comes up. Now, this code was T22, which is a private independent foundation. So, philanthropy, what is that, guys? Does anybody know what philanthropy is? Philanthropy. I think I know, but I can't remember right. Philanthropy. Is that donating? Philanthropy. Let me see. Let's look this up real quick. Is a gift. Voluntary promotion of human welfare. Okay. So basically what he was using it for was philanthropy. Because here in this article that I found, trying to dig up and stuff about it to see what he was using that particular foundation for, it says here that R. Kelly's charity song shows support for U.S. troops. And this article came out April 2nd of 2003. Now, remember, he opened up the foundation in 2002. So the embattled R&B star R. Kelly has recorded a new track in support of the U.S. troops in Iraq. The R&B singer says the song Soldier's Heart is a tribute to the soldiers who are risking their lives to preserve freedom. According to Ananova, the track is due for release in the U.S. on April 23rd, with all the proceeds going to the families of soldiers through Kelly's I Believe I Can Fly Foundation. So he was using that foundation to donate money. So what we do know is that he did donate to the U.S. troops in Houston, Texas, correct? It said in Iraq, and said that this song, Kelly said that this song is my way of saying thank you to everyone protecting us and allowing us to sleep comfortable at night and send our children off to school in the morning. Some of these young men and women are just 18 to 20 years old themselves. Some have never left their hometown prior to basic or advanced training. The fact that their journey is far, frightening, and unfamiliar to them does not stop them. He also added, the old statement music can calm the savage beast is true in so many ways. It can also soothe pain, bring calm, and uplift. And that's what I'm trying to do through my music this time. You see, so now after the alleged allegations came up and he was charged in 2002, now he had to try to change his image from the savage beast to this calm, praying, spiritual man who wants to heal the world and pray for his downfalls at the same time. Weird. Now, the star is awaiting trial in Chicago on 21 charges of child pornography relating to a videotape allegedly showing him engaging in sex acts with a minor. Okay? So that's what he used that for. So this was it. And here they have the proof of the tax exempt organizations in Oak Park, Illinois. And here we have, where is the address? Wait. Where the hell was it? What was it again? 308. Oh, here it is. See? And then they have here, I Believe I Can Fly Foundation, 308 Madison Street, 60302 4110. And then there's their number, their tax ID number. And this is where it was located. 308 Madison. That's the building there, 308, right here. Now it's a doctor's office. Now it's a doctor's office. And here it says the I Believe I Can Fly Foundation is a charitable organization in Oak Park, Illinois. And then it says it's tax ID. And it was granted tax exempt status by IRS in October of 2022. Now, when was he charged, guys? In June, right? June of 2002, was it? Or February, something like that? Man, I'm trying to think. When did he get charged again? I believe it was June of 2002. And then October, he decided to make this foundation. And it says, for detailed information such as income and other financial data of the I Believe I Can Fly Foundation, refer to the following table. So here it says this is the profile of the I Believe I Can Fly Foundation. It has the organization's name, the tax ID, the address. And then in here it says, in care of Daryl McDavid. In care of Daryl McDavid. Then it says for tax period December of 2012, their asset was $1, their income was $1, and they made no revenue. 2013, assets was $1, income was $1. it says that their exempt status is unconditional exemption. Deductibility is that contributions are deductible. So any type of contributions that he was doing was tax deductible. Tax exempt classification, as we said, was philanthropy, right? Voluntarism and grant making. His tax exempt activity was private independent foundation. The code is T22. Foundation type was private non-operating foundation. Organization type is a corporation. Organization classification is a charitable organization. Affiliation is independent. This organization is an independent organization or an independent auxiliary. Example, not affiliated with a national, regional, or geographic grouping of organizations. Now, for primary returns required to file, it says that the 990 is not required to file. Private foundation filing requirements need to file a 990 PF return. And assets range reported on form 990 is $1 to $9,999. Income range reported on the form is $1 to $9,999. Accounting period is 12. Now, I don't know much about taxes and stuff like that, so I don't even know what that's about. So that was that. So that was the whole thing with the see. Now when I had looked it up a long time ago, I think it was this way. Right. This is what I had found. That was it. Now, this is kind of interesting here, right? Because inside of the building of 308, it says householders and tenants, right? The tenants, it says here, as of December 22nd of 2003, incidents registered in Federal Emergency Management Agency. There's a multifamily dwelling. Actions taken are emergency medical services or other. And it has 310 Madison LLC. And it says type of business is domestic LLC. Then right here, it also says Winkler and David. And we know that Winkler and David is Daryl McDavid. And the industry in the building, 308 Madison, is accounting and accounting bookkeeping. And as you can see, they're here twice, 3 times, 4 times. Categories: accountants and certified public accountants. Professional services, accountants, accounting. And then I had, that was the street view. You see? Okay. I'm just going to leave that right there, guys. Let's see what you guys were saying. Hey, Cali King. What's up, baby boy? Okay. A non-for-profit entity that was involuntary dissolved 9/8/17. I need to know who was the agent after Mensch. That's what I want to know. Who? Because Mensch left in 2018. So for a year, who was? It had to be Keith and James Mason, right? That's who I'm thinking, Robin. They were using this as a shell company to filter money, if you ask me. Because Linda was the agent until 2016. So who filed the form to dissolve? McDavid? Right, but it said 2014 here. So I don't know what you... Robin, if you get a chance, email me whatever you're talking about, mama. Maybe we could put our heads together, babe. Do you know about these types of things and taxes and things of this nature, Robin? Money from FEMA for what? I hope not to pay victims. According to the state, she left 11/21/16. In an article, you're looking at the state website. All right, babe, give me text me that information, babe. Send it to me, email or whatever, however you could do it, babe. You got my information, right, mama? Let me know. All right, I wanted to... Okay. Now, in 1995, R. Kelly made a donation in London to some type of charity. Let's check that out. Let's check that out real quick, guys. All right, what happened here? All right, hold on. Let all that get in. Yeah. So like I said, guys, this is 1995, and R. Kelly was in London donating money to a charity. Okay, just making sure the stream's going.
Sorry, did you send this way as well, please? There we go. And again. On this way, please. Yeah, and on this way, please. And again, straight in the middle, please. One's on the seat. Please.
It's a good thing about he's that's gonna be
Sorry, did you send this way as well, please?
There we go.
And again. On this way, please. Yeah, and on this way, please. And again, straight in the middle, please. One's on the seat. Please.
It's a good thing about he's that's gonna be
And again, straight here, please, on the seat again. That's fine.
Okay, yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to say this out 3-4 weeks ago, and it touched my heart. And it made me feel like, man, I'm going to do something about it. That's what I call Black Records and Very Hands in my manager. And they told me what I could do to get on the plane, which is something I don't do that much, to come out here and do this, man. I just want to let you know it's from my heart. Everybody get on the fly. It's always a friend of mine. Thanks, man. Very, very much indeed. There it is.
And on the chair, please.
Right off, guys, here.
Thank you.
Hey, man, I'm glad you made me happy. Made me feel.
Thank you. I'm here. Here we go. Can I get back into the again, please? Last shot, guys, please. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. James, do you want to make your way up now, please?
On this first question,
So the check looked like a $20,000 check. It looked like it said $20,000. So that's what he donated. So he donated $20,000 to that charity. He gave all the proceeds to a certain song, Soldier's Heart, for the soldiers who were fighting in Iraq. So, those are the two things that we know that he did use, as far as doing charity. And one we know that he used for the I Believe I Can Fly Foundation. So I don't know, but I think maybe he might have been swindling money somehow. Who knows? Who knows? All right, I'm gonna oh, here we go. I'm going to end this live with you guys listening to a podcast called Broken Limelight. And this lady did 3 parts to a story about R. Kelly. So I'm gonna let you guys listen to part 1. Okay.
Hi everybody, I'm Dee Dee West, and this is Broken Limelight. For today's episode, we're going to talk about R. Kelly. Dude, this story is nuts. This is probably going to be a 2-parter, by the way, at least. R. Kelly's accusations date back to the early 90s, and believe it or not, people still think he's innocent. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, R. Kelly made some of the greatest R&B hits in the 90s and 2000s, and then suddenly all these women started, well, girls really, they all started coming out with accusations of accusing him of sex crimes. There were even sex tapes that were being sold on the street of R. Kelly with a minor. So if for some reason you haven't heard all of this yet, let me go ahead and let this be your trigger warning. This episode is going to include the theme of sex abuse against children a lot. Before I start, I want to tell you about the book I read for my research. It's called Soulless, The Case Against R. Kelly, and it's by Jim DeRogatis. Jim is a music critic, but he was sent information about R. Kelly, and he ended up being the guy who investigated this case. In fact, Jim was the one who received the notorious P tape in early 2000s. Also, Lifetime made a show called Surviving R. Kelly. It's like a docuseries. And it's full of interviews from the witnesses, like the victims and people who worked with R. Kelly. It's definitely eye-opening. So brace yourselves. Here we go. R. Kelly was born Robert Sylvester Kelly in Chicago, and he has been credited as the Pied Piper of R&B and the king of pop soul. I might be calling him Robert or Rob throughout the episode. He was known for hits like I Believe I Can Fly, Ignition Remix, Bump and Grind, The World's Greatest, and so on. His mother's name was Joanne Kelly, and his father's identity was unknown. There is no father listed on his birth certificate. Joanne raised all 4 kids on her own. Robert was very close to his mother. He and his siblings all had different fathers, and Robert didn't look like either of his brothers, Bruce or Carrie. They were both a little bulkier and fuller in the face, where Robert was tall and lanky. He was also a pretty timid kid. Joanne said that Robert was the one she was worried about the most. He was sensitive. This sounds a lot like Marvin Gaye's relationship with his mom. Anyway, Robert is known for having a love for McDonald's. It's legitimately his happy place. Joanne would take him to McDonald's almost every morning. He had once said that she would fix a cup of coffee for herself, and she'd wear this cheap lipstick, and she would leave this red lipstick ring around the cup, and he would turn it around and drink from that part, taste the lipstick and the coffee at the same time. He said, if I could, I would have married my mom. One time as an adult, he had a rough day, and he took his crew to McDonald's and asked for uniforms, and he spent the next 3 hours slinging Big Macs and stuff. Robert started singing in church when he was 8 years old. In fact, he was following in his mother's footsteps. Joanne sang for the church, and she was amazing. At home, she would sing Gladys Knight songs, and Robert, Bruce, and Carrie would all play her pips. When he was 8, he had his first little girlfriend named Lulu. Robert said that Lulu was his first inspiration for love songs. They would hold hands and play house in a cardboard box, and they would pretend to eat meals in their house together and stuff. One day, they were playing by a creek that was prone to dangerous flooding. Some older kids showed up and started pushing them around, and Lulu got shoved into the rushing water. The older kids just kind of panicked and ran away, and neither Robert nor Lulu knew how to swim. So Robert helplessly watched the fast-moving current just carry her away while she screamed his name. After a while, some adults showed up, and Robert and them walked downstream until they found Lulu's lifeless body with her head crushed against the big rock. Robert saw the whole bloody scene. And this is just one of many traumatic events in Robert's childhood. R. Kelly grew up in a house full of women, like his older sister, his mom and her sisters, and all of their female friends. And it was said that when his mom or grandparents weren't home, they would wear more revealing clothing, like wear nightgowns with nothing underneath. He says that he started to get curious and aroused, which in turn made him kind of confused and ashamed as such a young boy. One time he came home from school early and he walked in on one of these female relatives having sex with the man. And she said to him, "You can watch, but you better not say shit to nobody about this." On another occasion, he stumbled upon this couple again, and they directed him to take photos of them with a Polaroid. Robert said, "They got into positions where I could see their private parts. I snapped the picture. When she showed me how it took only a minute to develop, I was amazed. The photographic technology impressed me more than the sex. She grabbed the photo and kept it for herself. I took the memory of them doing the dirty and stashed it inside my mind's brick box." On yet another occasion, 8-year-old Robert fell asleep on the couch and he woke up to a woman who was 10 years older than him performing oral sex on him. She also threatened him to keep quiet, saying, "You better not say shit to no one or else you're going to get a terrible whooping." So he didn't tell anybody. And they're also in the south side of Chicago, so he also knew that it was important for him to not be a snitch. According to Robert, the sexual contact with this woman moved on to intercourse and went on for about 6 years. According to his brother Carrie, the abuser was their older half-sister Teresa, and she allegedly abused both.
Now, remember, this is from R. Kelly's book, or Soulless, right? Because in Soulless, Jim DeRogatis spoke about R. Kelly's abuse from Soulless. Now, you see how R. Kelly has this pattern. He experienced taking pictures of adults. They told him, shh, be quiet, don't say anything, or he was going to get hurt, right? So he took all these experiences as a child and just repeated the cycle. That's what he's doing, repeating the cycle. He never got the help he needed. He needed help. He never got the help. And he, throughout the years that he was from child to adult to this very day when he landed in jail, he had a problem that he did not want to fix. Because if he really wanted to fix it, he would have. He just figured this was normal. That's why he probably doesn't think in his mind that he's guilty. Even though he covered up crimes, and he knew he was covering up crimes because he knew he was doing wrong, because by law, it was wrong. But for him, it felt right. I just want to kind of bring you guys back a little bit up to speed on a little bit of memory of what's happened. Okay?
Of them. Carrie openly blames Teresa for Robert's hypersexuality as an adult, and Teresa has never publicly spoken about either of her half-brothers. When Robert was about 10, an older man who was close to the family, they called him Mr. Blue, he invited Robert into his apartment and gave him a piece of watermelon, and then he disappeared into the shower, and when he came out, he was wearing a robe. He then opened the robe and exposed himself to Robert and offered him $5 to touch his penis. Robert ran out the door, and Mr. Blue was yelling after him that he better not tell anybody. But this time, Robert did speak out after he learned that a friend had a similar encounter with Mr. Blue. So Joanne called the police, and they never saw Mr. Blue again. Allegedly, Joanne at one point revealed to a family friend that Robert had also been abused by a man within the family, either an uncle or someone close who they just called uncle. From the sound of it, Robert was very confused and may have been angry at his mom for not protecting him. Robert Brothers Carey said that a man named Mr. Henry exposed himself to all three brothers and that he was the one who told Joanne. According to mental health professionals, male survivors may struggle with sex addiction and sometimes be plagued with nightmares. Robert is actually known to sleep in his bedroom closet, as he says it gives him peace of mind. He also said that he has dreams about being raped by a woman or being cornered or chased and shot at. Also, when children are sexually abused, they tend to experience things like fear and shame, but they also might feel aroused, and that's confusing.
Why would he have nightmares about people chasing him around to gun him down? Because he knew he was messing around with little girls. Little girls. He was having nightmares that people were coming to get him. But then he couldn't stop. He could not stop. He would sleep in the closet from nightmares. He didn't feel comfortable in his own skin. He would hide in a closet, embarrassed, ashamed, don't know what to do.
So what happens is these victims might associate the arousal with the victimization and humiliation and discomfort, and they fetishize the things they've experienced, like voyeurism or documenting their sexual encounters on camera. When he was somewhere between 11 and 13, it varies as he tells the story, he was shot in the shoulder while riding his bike, and he still carries the bullet with him in his shoulder to this day. He said that two boys shot him while trying to steal his bike, but a family member said that he was actually very, very depressed and shot himself. Robert struggled with a learning disability, which he called more than dyslexia, and he didn't know how to read or write, or at least there were a lot of specific words that he really struggled with. He also wasn't great at math. He would struggle like when he would have to count his change or buy something at the store as a kid. So he dropped out of high school and focused on music. However, he kept going back to his high school for another 6 years so that he could rehearse with the choir. He adored his music mentor. Her name was Limine.
He went back to school for 6 more years. So when he left the school, because remember he dropped out, right? He didn't finish. He was in what, 10th grade or 11th grade it was, and then he dropped out. So he was about 18. So you figure from the age of 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So till the age of 23, he was going back to the school to get advice from his music teacher. Still at the age of 23? Come on now. By then he was already a superstar, right? Or he just became or was starting.
Lynn, he calls her his second mother, and Lena McLin has quite a history. Some of her other students include Jennifer Hudson, Mandy Patinkin, and Shaka Khan. Lena actually convinced Robert to quit playing basketball to focus on his music, which was a huge deal for him. Basketball and music were his two passions. There's a biography about R. Kelly. It's called Solar Coaster, The Diary of Me. It's by David Ritz and R. Kelly. By the way, David Ritz is the same guy who wrote the biography by Marvin Gaye that I mentioned in another episode. So in Solar Coaster, Robert talks about how he has this uncontrollable preoccupation with music. As a child, when he would try to read, the words would jump off the pages and turn into musical notes. He thought there was something wrong with him, but eventually he just embraced it. Fun fact for you, in 1995, R. Kelly got his first Grammy after he wrote and composed and produced Michael Jackson's final #1 hit, You Are Not Alone. Interestingly, this song kind of marks the fading of Michael Jackson's stardom and the rising of R. Kelly's. In 1987, Barry Hankerson, who was a record producer who was once married to Gladys Knight and also happens to be the uncle of Aaliyah, he went to Chicago for a production of a gospel musical that he was producing, and the audition is where he first heard Robert's voice. He offered him $700 a week to be in the show, but Robert told him that he couldn't read or memorize the lines. So instead, Robert gave Barry some of his demos, and Barry took him on as one of his client artists. In 1991, he signed with Jive Records. He had a strong team behind him, including Barry Hankerson as his manager and Demetrius Smith, who worked as his tour manager and personal assistant. Demetrius is actually one of the people who spoke on surviving R. Kelly. He was a witness, well, more than a witness, to R. Kelly's marriage to Aaliyah. He stuck by Robert's side for 13 years before quitting in 1995. Robert's career finally started to take off in about 1992 when he collaborated with Public Announcement for the album Born into the 90s. In 1993, he released his first album that was credited only to him, 12 Play. In the album cover, he's wearing an open black vest revealing his chest, and he's holding a cane, which, if you really look at it, you can see that it's actually what's called a dirty old man walking stick, which is essentially a cane with an adjustable mirror at the bottom so that you can use it to peek under a woman's skirt. Shortly after that album, Joanne died of cancer. This is another story that varies as Robert tells it. Once he said that he rushed to her deathbed and she kicked him out, told him to leave. In another account, he said that he stayed and bared his soul to her, apologized for everything he's ever done wrong, and promised to become the greatest singer and songwriter the world has ever seen. Robert's brother Kerry actually tells a different story. According to him, Robert cut off communication with Joanne and basically shunned her after his career took off, supposedly because he didn't like her husband Lucius. Which was a lot considering how much he cherished her. When Robert got his first big paycheck from Jive, his crew shamed him for buying himself a new Mercedes while his mom was still driving a beat-up little Ford that she had to hotwire to start. A family friend said that he was reluctant to share anything with her and refused to deal with her medical bills, even though he had the money. This friend believes that he was angry with everyone for failing to protect him, to the point that it set off something in him and he started abusing other people. So let's talk a little bit about Aaliyah. Aaliyah was born in 1979, so she was about 12 years younger than Robert. Aaliyah also started singing in church, and her parent proudly paid for singing lessons. When she was 10, she was on Star Search, and when she was 11, she joined her ex-aunt Gladys Knight for a 5-night stint in Bally's Hotel here in Las Vegas. Gladys said about Aaliyah, She was brought up in the old school, a sweet, sweet girl. She would walk into a room and you would feel her light. She'd hug everyone and she meant it. At 14, Barry started Blackground Records, and Aaliyah was the first artist he signed. Barry then introduced her to Robert, who then became her mentor, as well as lead songwriter and producer of her album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. Which, they may as well call the album, I'm a Pedophile. The song came out in May 1994, so Aaliyah was 15 by the time the album was released, and it's basically about a young girl trying to get with an older guy and trying to get him to sleep with her, telling him not to be afraid. And Robert is literally writing these lyrics for this child to sing. Not to mention the album cover where Aaliyah's posing and Robert's lurking in the background staring at her.
Creepy.
One time, Robert and Aaliyah appeared on a show on BET, and one of the hosts said, "Everybody seems to think that you're either girlfriend and boyfriend or cousins." And Aaliyah's like, "Well, no, we're not related. We're just very close. He's my very best friend." That same year, one of Robert's backup singers, Javante Cunningham, allegedly caught Robert and Aaliyah having sex in a tour bus. This is her quote. "We were out on the road with Aaliyah on a tour bus. There really aren't many confined spaces. When you get on the bus, there are these bunks, and so these bunks have little curtains you can pull at night if you don't want anybody to see you sleeping. So it just so happened we were all laying in our bunks and the curtains are open. Everybody's communicating, laughing. When the curtain flew open on the bus, Robert was having sex with Aaliyah." Aaliyah's mom called this woman a liar and claimed that her husband and her were always present on tours with Aaliyah.
Hey, 504.
In August 1994, Robert and Aaliyah were illegally married. Apparently, Robert called up Demetrius and told him that Aaliyah was pregnant and they needed to get married. Aaliyah was still 15, so they falsified documents to say that Aaliyah was actually 18. Allegedly, they bribed somebody at the county clerk's office to do this. Some sources say that it was a surprise wedding and Aaliyah didn't even know about it until it was about to happen. Demetrius now says that he could see that Aaliyah was scared and uncomfortable, and he's not proud of all this. He's the one who gives the most detailed account about the wedding. He wrote about it in his book, The Man Behind the Man, which is about his time working with Robert. As Demetrius describes it, he and Robert flew back home while Aaliyah stayed at the hotel where they got married, but within a day, she went home to Detroit and told her parents everything. A family member said, "The issue with the family was to move on and to totally undo what Robert Kelly did. We just thought, this guy is stupid. He's like a big, dumb 15-year-old himself. At the time, we didn't think about pedophilia. We just thought, how dumb can you be, boy? You're lucky we're the family. We embraced her and she cried and she said she never wanted to see him again. We were apprehensive and we watched her, but we never took away the telephone or the mobility to leave the house. She just never saw him again." So after the wedding, Aaliyah ended up having an abortion, allegedly, because no documents have actually been found proving that she was really pregnant, and they had the marriage annulled in February 1995. Demetrius reportedly quit working for Robert the same year out of disgust over his behavior, although Robert's team claims that they actually fired him. Barry Hankerson also started to back away from Robert after that and ended up quitting in 2000, though again, Kelly's team would say that he was fired. Some people, including Aaliyah's mother Diane, deny that Aaliyah and Robert ever had any kind of sexual relationship. Robert and Aaliyah have never admitted to anything. They always said that they were just very best friends. But if you've watched Surviving R. Kelly or looked into this case, you probably know that there are a lot of witnesses who testify that they know for a fact that the pair was engaged in a sexual relationship.
Hey, Jackie. Hey, 504.
Even though Diane says that she was always present whenever Aaliyah went on tour, there's a lot of witnesses who say that they've seen Aaliyah plenty of times at R. Kelly's studio without her parents there. According to Lisa Van Allen, who is another one of R. Kelly's survivors, she says that Robert told her that he actually slept with Diane too. She revealed, he said that when Aaliyah would go to sleep, he would go into the living room and they would do sexual acts on the couch while Aaliyah was asleep in the bedroom. This makes you wonder if maybe Diane really thought that she thought that she was Robert's girlfriend, and maybe that was proof to her that he couldn't be with Aaliyah. I know that sounds naive, But one thing that Robert survivors all have in common is that they say that he's so charming and manipulative that they would find out months into their relationship with him that he was seeing dozens of other women or girls. He literally would charm them for months without any of them knowing about each other. In 1996, Robert was sued by Tiffany Hawkins for $10 million. Tiffany was an aspiring singer. She met Robert in 1991 when she was 15 years old and he was 24. Apparently, her and her friend were on a bus and they saw his car and they were starstruck. So they got off the bus and they approached him and he gave them his home address and told them to come over and bring some friends. While they were hanging out at his house, she sang for him and he reportedly fell out of his chair when she hit a high note. And this is a common story. A few of the young girls that R. Kelly dated were young, aspiring singers, and they would sing to him and he would act like he was so impressed and had to help them become stars. She actually sang backup for Born into the 90s too and was a backup rapper on Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. So, Tiffany's story continues. She says that a bunch of people were hanging out inside of Robert's bedroom. She would go in and out of the bedroom, and each time he would be having sex with somebody. At some point, it became an orgy. She says that all the girls there were between 14 and 16 years old, which she thought was weird, but she also figured, well, he's a star. Maybe this is just how things are.
Right.
And that's how they get you. So Tiffany says that she and Robert had more like a sibling-like relationship at first. She actually introduced him to 5 or 6 of her girlfriends who all had sex with him, all before she actually slept with him herself.
Wow.
Robert had a way of making her feel important and capable of anything. Tiffany was also homeless, by the way. Her mother's boyfriend was abusive, so she had to run away and was living on the streets. So Robert also provided her food and shelter, and these are all things that, unfortunately, predators seek out. They seek out vulnerable people as prey who they know don't have a support system and, furthermore, probably don't have a lot of self-esteem. That, in turn, makes it easier for them to convince you later that nobody wants you and you would be stupid to leave the only person who cares about you, the abuser. Tiffany and R. Kelly had sexual contact for roughly 3 years, ending just before her 18th birthday. So in 1996, Tiffany sued him for personal injuries and severe emotional harm because she had sex with the singer, and he encouraged her to participate in group sex with him and other underage girls. The lawsuit also explains that R. Kelly would kick her out of the studio whenever she didn't want to have sex. She agreed to do some of the acts that he demanded in the studio and at his homes, including threesomes with underage girls, and it claimed that she had traveled with Robert and had sexual contact with him on his tour bus in...
So, if Tiffany or specifically Tiffany, if she didn't want to have sex with R. Kelly, he would throw her out. So she would have to figure out, where am I going to sleep today? Are you kidding me? So what did she do? Just so she wouldn't get thrown out, she would participate in shit she didn't want to participate in. There goes the control, the coercive control. There it is, right there.
In Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Indiana, and Washington, D.C. This is important because he is traveling with minors across state lines, and all of these states tend to have different laws regarding the age of consent. In 1997, Tiffany planned to use Robert and Aaliyah's marriage certificate to show that Robert had a history of inappropriate relationships with young girls. Aaliyah then filed to have that record expunged, despite the fact that she'd been denying that this marriage ever happened for years.
Hey, Samara.
Tiffany gave a 7.5-hour deposition to Robert's attorneys where she described her relationship with him and mentioned other minors. Robert actually sued Tiffany back, claiming that she threatened to make false accusations against him if he didn't give her big money and a record deal. In 1998, Robert paid Tiffany $250,000 to drop the suit and made her sign an NDA, or a non-disclosure agreement, barring her from talking about any relationship or settlement with R. Kelly. Here's something interesting. Robert actually filed a liability claim with his homeowner's insurance to try to get them to pay Tiffany's settlement. So if you don't know much about insurance, homeowner's insurance comes with a liability portion for instances like if somebody gets hurt in your home.
Remember, guys, I read that in homeowners insurance claim. That was crazy. That was crazy. How are you going to do that? But she's going to explain. Check it out.
Element with R. Kelly. Here's something interesting. Robert actually filed a liability claim with his homeowner's insurance to try to get them to pay Tiffany's settlement.
Hey, Boston.
So if you don't know much about insurance, homeowner's insurance comes with a liability portion for instances like if somebody gets hurt in your home or if your dog bites someone and then they sue you. Those are just examples. So in 1999, Hartford Insurance Company actually sued him for making that claim. Robert appealed that, bold of him, and Hartford responded that the underlying complaint against the insured sufficiently set forth factual allegations of sexual misconduct with a minor to exclude coverage under an expected or intended exclusion. Basically, they're saying that the damages were done intentionally and the insurance doesn't cover intentional damage. A couple months later, Tiffany attempted suicide. Robert denies all the allegations and says that he never had sex with Tiffany. This whole lawsuit was kept under wraps until the year 2000 when someone anonymously sent a fax revealing all the details to the reporter, Jim DeRogatis. So Tiffany brought friends over to Robert's house frequently. Among these friends was a classmate whose name hasn't been revealed yet. According to this classmate, Robert promised to make both of them stars. He also convinced them to drop out of high school, telling them that high school won't make them millionaires. So they both ended up taking their advice, and that classmate says that she now deeply regrets that. Another friend of Tiffany's is Javante Cunningham. She has said a lot in this case. She was one of the ones who testified that she saw Robert and Aaliyah having sex on the tour bus. In Surviving R. Kelly, she also describes a time in the recording studio where she sees her friend bent over and Robert behind her doing her. And that friend was actually 16-year-old Tiffany Hawkins. So again, in 2000, Jim DeRogatis received an anonymous fax, and here's just a little bit of what it said. Dear Mr. DeRogatis, I'm sending this to you because I don't know where else to go. You wrote about R. Kelly a couple of weeks ago and compared him to Marvin Gaye. Well, I guess Marvin Gaye had problems too. But I don't think that they're like Robert's. Robert's problem, and it's a thing that goes back many years, is young girls. The fax goes on to describe different cases of young girls that Robert has abused. It continues, right now he's messing with a 13-year-old girl who he tells people is his goddaughter. This one has been going on for more than 2 years now, and her parents are turning a blind eye because Robert hired her father, who is a bass player. The girl they're talking about is actually Rashonda Landfair, and she is the niece of the singer Sparkle. She's also the girl who is allegedly in that P-tape. We'll get to that. So throughout Jim's investigation, he came across a document from September 29, 1994, which was less than a month after Robert and Aaliyah's wedding. The document was signed by Robert, Aaliyah, and both of Aaliyah's parents, Diane and Michael Houghton. The agreement stipulated that, in consideration of payment of $100 by Robert to Aaliyah, the two would sever all personal and professional contact and pledge to avoid any public comment about their relationship or the separation agreement, quote, due to the nature of the music industry and its ability to endanger rumors and disseminate personal information, both true and untrue. Sources later revealed that Robert actually paid Aaliyah $3 million off the books. That makes more sense, because like $100 and they're both these big stars? That didn't make any sense. So, in the agreement, Robert admits to no liability or wrongdoing, and Aaliyah and her parents discharged him from any future legal claims due to, quote, a decline in her ability, reputation, or marketability, emotional distress caused by any aspect of her business or personal relationship with Robert, or physical injury or emotional pain and suffering from any assault or battery perpetrated by Robert against her person. That's interesting. According to Demetrius, Robert was really depressed after the breakup, and he checked into a hotel and spent more than a month sleeping in the closet. 9 days after his wedding to Aaliyah, Robert and his crew were staying at the Michelangelo Hotel near Times Square, and
Hello, ladies who just walked into the building. What's up, ladies? Yes, we're listening to a young lady. The name of her episodes, her podcast is called Broken Limelight, and she spoke about R. Kelly. I'm going to put her link in the chat again so you guys can follow her, subscribe to her channel, and give her a thumbs up on the video, guys. She's got 3 parts. Okay.
Police arrested 2 of his bodyguards in a hotel room on charges of raping and sodomizing a 22-year-old woman. It was reported that police were looking for a 3rd suspect, and a source revealed to Jim that the incident actually involved Robert and an underage girl with a fake ID. Demetria said that the girl tried to escape from Robert, so the 2 bodyguards rushed to his room and they stayed to talk to police while Robert fled. He said that Robert paid them and then he treated them like shit. They took the fall for him, and then he had no respect for them after that. After Aaliyah and Robert split up, Aaliyah decided to leave Jive and she signed with Virgin Records. An executive at Virgin said, whenever Robert Kelly comes up, she doesn't even want to speak his name. When she came over to this label, we were all told on the sly, don't ever bring up R. Kelly's name. It's just one of those weird topics. In 2000, Robert employed Regina Daniels as his publicist, and she gave Jim a statement that had exceeded what anyone on Kelly's team was allowed to say, and she got in trouble for it later. What she said was, Robert did date Aaliyah. Yes, he did. And he did have a relationship with Aaliyah. Yes, he did. And past that, unfortunately, it didn't work out, and that was really that. Did they have a relationship? Yes, they did. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you or nobody else about it. Yes, they did. Did they get married? Well, there was a marriage certificate, so that pretty much kind of means something happened there. Was I there? No, I wasn't. But there was a relationship. It ended with, maybe we're over our heads. Maybe this is too much. Maybe we need to go our separate ways. I love you. I always will. I wish you the best. And maybe we just jumped in way too deep into this thing. And she went her way and he went his. Well, Regina, I can see why you got in trouble for saying that. In 1996, Robert married a 22-year-old dancer named Andrea Lee. She also goes by Drea. This marriage wasn't mentioned much in the media. There weren't a lot of pictures of them in public. Demetria said he married Andrea to take the attention off Aaliyah, but he never talks about her. He continues that Robert never stopped pursuing other girls. In 1999, Robert started talking to a 17-year-old girl who had no idea he was married. His assistant snuck a little piece of paper with Robert's phone number into her hand, and the 2 started talking over the phone. They had phone sex, and Robert told her that they were soulmates. She believed that he loved her. So when he sent her a plane ticket to visit him in Chicago for her 18th birthday, she had sex with him for the first time.
Wow.
As soon as she found out they were married, they started fighting and eventually stopped hooking up. So far, there's been a handful of girls that we've mentioned who were abused by Robert up to the year 2000. Let's go back to that fax that Jim got that mentions the 13-year-old girl who Robert is allegedly currently messing with at the time of the fax in 2000. So the fax mentions that Robert tells people the girl is his goddaughter and that he hired her father to play bass for him. Okay, so R. Kelly released the album TP2.com in 2000. In the notes, he gives thanks to his goddaughter Rashana, Greg, and Valerie. Now, there's someone named Greg Landfair who is credited as the guitarist on TP2.com, and he's got a wife named Valerie and a daughter named Rashonda who also goes by Rashana. Rashana was now 14, and 4 sources confirmed that she had ongoing sexual contact with Robert. Robert was also having sex with another girl who was close to Rashana and was only 13. This girl's identity has not been revealed either. So Jim tried, but he wasn't able to get information from Rashana or her parents, but he was able to get in contact with her aunt Stephanie Edwards, who was also known as the singer Sparkle. Sparkle was once married to Earl Robinson, who was a member of Public Announcement with Robert. She sang backup on Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, where she got to know Aaliyah's posse, the Second Chapter Girls. The Second Chapter Girls were made up of Aaliyah, Javante, Tiffany, and possibly one more girl. By all accounts, Robert tried to seduce Sparkle, but she was not having it. She wanted to keep the relationship strictly professional. Sparkle introduced Robert to her family, including her brother-in-law Greg Landfair and her niece Rashonda. She introduced Rashonda to Robert when she was 12 because she's a rapper and she was hoping Robert could help her get her foot in the door. According to Sparkle, she would come to the studio sometimes and Rashonda would be there. So she would be like, "What are you doing here? Who's here with you?" And Rashonda would say, "Oh, I got dropped off." And that made Sparkles livid. She could not believe that she had been left alone there with Robert. By December 2000, Rashonda and her parents had been interviewed twice already, and all denied that she ever had any kind of sexual contact with Robert. Jim actually got an email from an anonymous source who worked for the Department of Child and Family Services that stated that Rashonda's parents apparently let Kelly take the girl on the road with him and have sexual relationships with her with their full knowledge and consent. On December 21st, 2000, Jim and his partner released a story in the Chicago Sun-Times titled "R. Kelly Accused of Having Sex with Teenage Girls." Unfortunately, that report didn't get a lot of attention. Other news and media outlets didn't report on it, and fans weren't really fazed either. An editor had interviewed members of R. Kelly's audience at a holiday concert, and this one 18-year-old fan said, "His personal life doesn't really concern me." A 29-year-old woman said, "I know Robert. It's not like him. It's a publicity stunt on the girl's part." So by this point, R. Kelly has literally had a pattern of predatory behavior for about a decade, allegedly. Lives were ruined. I mean, Tiffany Hawkins tried to kill herself and nobody really seemed to care. Throughout Jim's investigation, he kept hearing mention about the girl in Miami, but he was never able to identify her or locate her until 18 years later when she emailed him in 2018. This was Lizette Martinez, and she was 17 years old the first time she had sex with Robert. Lizette Martinez was also an aspiring singer. She met Robert one day in 1995 while strolling around the mall. She saw him walking around with a bodyguard, and she squealed and said, "Oh, that's R. Kelly." He overheard her, and he went over and gave her a hug. After he walked away, the bodyguard pressed a piece of paper with his phone number in her hand and told her that she should meet them later by the Sports Authority. This is so familiar. So Lizette and her friend met up with Robert and his crew, and they took them to Outback Steakhouse. Lizette noticed that Barry Hankerson kept looking at her with a fatherly concern, like he felt bad and wanted to help her. The age of consent was 18 in Florida, so she told him honestly, "I'm 17 and I'm in high school." And Robert was just like, "Oh, okay." She also told him that she's a singer, and he sounded super eager to audition her and help her out, just acting like the coolest guy in the world. Again, familiar. Lizette's friend was direct and less shy, and she just came out and asked him, "Didn't you marry Aaliyah?" This was 1995, so it was just months after that marriage was annulled. But man, I love the balls on this girl. She's like 17 and the first person to just point out that pattern. But she didn't know that Barry was Aaliyah's uncle, and he was sitting right there, so Lizette was like mortified. Robert just said, "You can't believe everything you read." The next day, the girls went to visit him at the recording studio, and she sang for him. He made her promises of helping her write songs and signing her as an artist when he starts his own label, but that never happened. Lizette would write her own songs alone, and Robert would always claim to be busy. Lizette didn't drink or do drugs, but one night she went to a party at Robert's house, and his friend gave her alcohol. She didn't drink, but she took it, and she started to black out. Her drink was probably drugged with something. That night, she lost her virginity to Robert. So the girls kept coming around the studio, and one of the bodyguards was making eyes at Lizette's friend, but she really wasn't into it. She's the bold one. She pretty much was just doing her best to stay close to Lizette and protect her. But whenever they were at the studio, the bodyguard would pull her to the side while Robert would take Lizette into another room. Robert was very careful to make sure that no one ever saw him with Lizette, and she felt like he was trying to keep her hidden. Before long, he pressured her to tell her friend to stop coming along. Lizette's parents got word that she was dating an older man, and they did not approve. So she moved out and went to live at her friend's house, and then she would just pretty much spend most of her time in the studio or at Robert's hotel in Miami and then in Chicago. Lizette says that early on, Robert had people follow her and keep tabs on her at all times. One of the first instances of abuse was when she was 17 and she just glanced at somebody And I guess Robert took her outside and smacked her and told her that she is not allowed to look at anyone except him. She just cried and said okay, and that's basically what she did from then on when he would abuse her. She had to ask him for permission to use the bathroom or to eat, and sometimes he would withhold food just to punish her. He humiliated her by making her perform sex acts in front of his friends. She knew that he was seeing other women, but she had no idea that he was married. She didn't even know that he was married until like a year into the marriage. She says that the relationship had warning signs, but they came in phases and she didn't recognize them right away. She says that he started making her call him daddy and controlling what she wore. He was known to make his girlfriends wear baggy clothes so they wouldn't be appealing to other men. He soon made her engage in sexual acts against her will, like anal sex and threesome with other girls. Again, he's her first. She's never had sex with anyone before Robert, so she was getting vibes that Robert was into some strange...
Candy, what this is, it's a podcast show. The young lady read Jim's book, and she also read some of Solar Coaster and articles and all these things, and she's mashing it all up together in kind of like a timeline that she created. So I thought it was really good. So I figured I'd share it with you guys. I put the link to her channel in the chat. If you get a chance, go check out the other 2 parts. Okay? And subscribe to her channel. It's Broken Limelight. And it's her podcast on YouTube. You can also follow her on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, as well as YouTube. Okay? So I put her YouTube channel in the link. You guys, please go subscribe to her channel. Share the video if you get a chance. I give her much props. This was a great job. She did a great job. So I'm in the background cooking, guys, and I'm continuing to let this video play. It's about 49 minutes long. We're at the 37-minute mark. Okay, so there's a few more minutes, and this is how I'm going to end the live. All right, y'all? So put your comments in, drop your little knowledge. And I'm going to go off the screen for a minute, and I'll be back.
Things sexually, but she didn't really understand for sure. And he would like charm her and talk her out of it or talk her into it and make it seem like it was something totally normal. One night, Lizette just asked him if he had other girls over, and he just beat the shit out of her. He grabbed her and he drug her into another room, and then security came. They asked her if she was okay, but Robert was like hiding behind the door, giving her looks as if saying, if you say something, I'm really going to kill you. So she just said, I'm fine. After getting physical, he would be all, I love you, I'm sorry. You know I'm going to help you and do everything for you, but you just have to listen to me. Like it all came down to her not listening or not behaving. During her senior year of high school, she found out that she was pregnant, but sadly, she miscarried a few days later. She tried to contact Robert, but he was nowhere to be found. The final straw was about a year later when she caught mononucleosis. Apparently, he had mono first and didn't tell her. So she went to the hospital and they told her that she had mono and that she could go home. And he was still nowhere to be found. So the mono actually turned into Guillain-Barré, which is a disorder where your body's immune system attacks your nerves. So she was very, very sick. Her body was shutting down and she was almost completely paralyzed. Her lungs almost collapsed, and she spent almost 3 weeks in intensive care in Miami. Her parents called him, and he sent her mom a check for $1,000. He never went to visit or called to see how she was or anything, and that was super painful for her. So she finally decided to walk away from him. After that, Lizette basically gave up on music. She decided she didn't want to do it anymore. She just wanted a normal life. She was able to move on. She married a high school crush and had twins. She kept quiet for years until she saw a report on TV that mentioned Robert settling several lawsuits brought by other underage girls. She was contacted by a lawyer named Susan Loggins, but decided not to move forward with the case. Susan Loggins did, however, spend the next 2 decades pursuing cases brought by underage girls against R. Kelly. She's represented at least 6 girls against him as far as what's been confirmed. Most of these cases were settled out of court, and only 3 lawsuits were actually filed against Robert by Susan's firm. The first case was Tiffany Hawkins. The second is Tracy Sampson. Tracy Sampson was 16 when she met Robert. She was an aspiring rapper, but she also wanted to work in all aspects of the music business. So she got an internship in marketing with Epic Records, and she tagged along with her supervisor to an expo, and that's where she met Robert. She asked him for an autograph. He hugged her, and he wrote down his phone number and said, "Call me," and then he hugged her again. Tracy at first talked to him on the phone, and then he invited her to a studio in Chicago. According to the lawsuit, Robert led Tracy by the hand into a room where they kissed, and then he asked her for a hand job. She refused, and then he started to masturbate himself in front of her. The sexual contact between Tracy and Robert went on from the spring of 2000 to the fall of 2001. Jim and his partner, Abden, were shocked to find this out because they were literally investigating R. Kelly during this time, and there he was preying on another underage girl. Tracy has since said, "I was lied to by him. I was coerced into receiving oral sex from a girl I did not want to have sex with. I was often treated as his personal sex object and cast aside. He would tell me to come to his studio and have sex with him and then tell me to go. He often tried to control every aspect of my life, including who I would see and where I would go. During our sexual encounters, he would make me do disgusting things like stick my finger up his butt. As a result of this relationship, I am seeking a counselor. I have increased stress in my life. I am afraid of trusting people. I get headaches whenever I see or hear Robert Kelly. I cry when I think about the things that he made me do." She later said that during sex, Robert would often say, "Tell Daddy how old you are." Ugh, fucking creep. The lawsuit included records about Tracy's psychiatric care, the phone records that corroborated her account of the relationship, as well as travel records showing that she also crossed state lines with him. This case was also settled out of court. Robert paid Tracy $250,000, just like Tiffany, to drop the lawsuit, and Tracy also signed an NDA, just like Tiffany. Tracy was actually fired from her internship. Her supervisor told her that she was a stupid bitch and shouldn't have talked to R. Kelly. That supervisor sounds like a cunt, too. She says that Rob is a nice guy and he's just trouble, and totally victim blames, saying shit like, "Girls like to get themselves in these situations and then turn around and sue the man. They're just starstruck." Bitch! Like, these are children. Of course they're starstruck, and he's a grown man taking advantage of that. Promising to make them stars? Most of these girls are virgins and don't even know what's normal and what's not. 2002, Susan brought her third claim against Robert. This was Patrice Jones, who met Robert in 1998 when she was 16. For the first time, many of the media outlets in Chicago reported on this lawsuit the day it was filed. Robert's attorneys denied the accusation and vowed to never settle. But 8 months later, they paid Patrice to drop the lawsuit in exchange for signing an NDA. Patrice's story is just as bad as all the others. She met Robert at a rock and roll McDonald's. Apparently, Robert hung out there often, presumably to pick up these young girls. For real though, why is he hanging out at this teenage hangout McDonald's and also going to malls and then also just going to a choir practice at this high school? Like, what? Like, that's not weird to anybody? Okay. Well, according to the lawsuit, in December 1998, around 11:30 p.m., Patrice and her cousin Charisse walked into the McDonald's wearing gowns after their winter ball at school. They spotted Robert staring at them, and they instantly just fangirled. They giggled, and they waved at him, and he smiled and waved back. Then one of the bodyguards approached Patrice and, guess, what do you think he did? He put a napkin in her hand with Robert's phone number in it, and he told her that Robert would like for her to call him, but that she shouldn't tell anybody. Naturally, she instantly told Charisse. They ran outside to their limo where they had their dates waiting for them, and they just gushed about it to their dates. And of course, the guys didn't believe them, so they went inside, and sure enough, they saw R. Kelly sitting there right in front of their eyes. So the whole group was really excited except for Patrice's date. He had heard the stories about R. Kelly's taste and said that he had once tried to pick up his sister. Patrice was also an aspiring singer. A week after the ball, she called the number on the napkin and Robert invited her to visit his studio in Chicago. Dude, every single one of these stories sounds exactly the same. So Patrice told Robert that she was 16, but it wasn't long before they started having sex. Patrice's lawsuit alleges that she had sex with Robert and sometimes another woman would be there to watch them have sex. It also states that Robert's, quote, aunt took her shopping for clothes at his discretion. Robert often calls Regina Daniels, his publicist, Aunt Regina, even though they're not related. Again, Robert pledged his love to Patrice and promised that he would help her launch her music career, but they never recorded together. In September 1999, when Patrice was 17, she informed Robert that she was pregnant. Robert insisted on an abortion, so the bodyguard took her to get one, but she told the doctor that she changed her mind and she left, still allegedly carrying Robert's baby. That night, Robert put her up in a hotel, and when he went there to see her, he exploded. She says that she cried inconsolably, and he was basically screaming at her and threatening her, and then finally he started crying, saying that his career was going to be ruined. So he convinced her to get the abortion. The next day, she went back to the clinic and admitted that she had lied about her age, saying she was 18 when she was only 17, and again tried to flee without getting the abortion. The bodyguard went after her and dragged her back to the clinic and paid for the abortion with $300 in cash. The relationship ended less than 3 months later in December 1999, but Patrice was crushed. This lawsuit also was settled in 2003 in exchange for another non-disclosure agreement. Interestingly, none of these cases that Susan Loggins took ever led to criminal charges against Robert. She had said, "You can't turn these into criminal cases unless the girls are really dedicated to being witnesses, and they're coming to me as a civil lawyer. They're coming to me as saying, I have a case against R. Kelly. They know all I can do is sue for money and damages. I've never done a criminal case in my lifetime." Something to consider, though, is that these girls were children. They were young, and after the word got out that Tiffany hired Susan Loggins, teenagers might have started to trust her. Not only that, but the girls Loggins represented came from Black neighborhoods with long histories of reasons not to trust law enforcement. If you think about it, Susan screwed them. She's represented at least 3 girls so far, and Robert keeps getting away with this shit, finding new girls to prey on, and she's literally just like accepting payments in exchange for NDAs instead of encouraging her clients to press charges. When Jim asks her about her views on the girls she represented, this is what she had to say. They don't look at it negatively when it's happening. They look at it as a positive thing, that R. Kelly is their boyfriend. It's not until later when he dumps them and they try to get a job in the music industry that they realize they're blackballed. They get older and realize that they screwed up and they fell for it. It's like any young girl feels when she gets dumped by a guy. At that point, they start telling people, look at this bad thing that happened to me. And when they come to us as a civil lawyer, there's no benefit to them to bring a civil case. I hate this bitch. Well, that quote didn't age well, with the Me Too movement bringing their new scrutiny to men who abuse their power to sexually assault women. So Jim interviewed her again and read her quote to her, and then he asked her if she stood by that comment. She said, "Yep, that's true." And then reminded Jim that she has a degree in psychology and wondered why he was still bothering with R. Kelly. I mean, all that tells me is that she's kind of arrogant, but I don't have a degree in psychology, so what do I know? All right, well, this is getting long as fuck already, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here for part 1. There's still a lot to talk about. There's a shit ton more victims, and then there's the trial that eventually happens, and then there's new victims and a sex call and just a whole bunch of shit. So bear with me because there's a lot that I need you guys to hear. Oh yeah, and before I forget, a couple days ago, a story came out that a young man, or I think it was actually a 17-year-old boy, has accused R. Kelly of sexually assaulted him. I will cover that as well in a future episode, but if you want to look it up so you know what I'm talking about, you'll see that this story is like exactly the same as Robert's other victims. I'll also link an article on brokenlimelight.com under this episode's show notes if you want to check that out.
Great commentary. She was awesome. She was great. Thank you so much, Broken Light, for that breakdown. That was great. Girl, you did a great job. That was totally awesome. You guys have to go check out part 2 and part 3. You guys have to go check it out. Please go subscribe to her channel. Okay? Go subscribe to her channel. Let me see if I can okay, let's see here. All right. Okay, so I just pinned her YouTube channel to the video that we were just listening to. Okay, it's her YouTube link. She also has Spotify podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. So you guys can check her out on one of those things as well. All right. She needs to join OCOV. Yes. We love you, Broken Light. Just in case, by any chance, you happen to see this video, please come over to my channel. You are more than welcome. We loved your commentary. You made a lot of sense connecting things and putting it together yourself. Taking quotes from the books as well. That was great. She fits right in. Yes, she did an amazing job. She fits right in. Yes, she does. Hey, Karen. What's up, mama? So, guys, that is the end of that. That was a great program. I'm glad I found that. I adored her. As soon as I started listening to it, I adored her. Her voice attracted me and everything. I just loved her. And she was, speaking on facts, that she's learned about the case, So, because she's actually doing a whole timeline, y'all. Check it out. She did a great job. Much props to you, Broken Light. Thank you so much for that. That was totally awesome, man. And guys, if you guys are just coming in, I read the motion for Milton Brown to consolidate, okay, his evidence and what he wants taken out and what he wants put in. Oh, boy, these people are a trip. These people are a trip. It's like they want to separate themselves from R. Kelly. They know they can't. They're all complicit. There is not going to be a severance. That shit is going to be denied. There's not going to be an acquittal. There's not going to be a new trial. That's all going to be denied. Everything is going to be denied. R. Kelly's sentencing is in like 11 days or 12 days. Let's be real here. I think it's time for all the supporters to hang up their coat for a little while, store some R. Kelly music in your playlist, and think of the memories that you had and live off that. Because he's done. And so is his little enterprise of his two little bullies, June and Daryl. June and Daryl McDavid were the sergeant and the lieutenant, and he was the head honcho of the enterprise. And that's why R. Kelly went down for racketeering, okay? Along with his entourage, bodyguards, and everybody else that played a part in that squid. Octopus, whatever the heck it was he drew. They actually drew a whole enterprise. They actually had an enterprise in their file. It was a whole exhibit from his paperwork that they had detailing who was who and who was where. They proved he was an enterprise. They proved that he was using his business to lure girls. That's what he did. He had his people help him out. It wasn't just about his music. It was about him making money. It was about him being busy and going out on soul tours. And it was about him having sex with girls. Period. And that's what they proved in New York. He got charged on 9 counts. He's done. Now, Azriel's situation, it is what it is. The parents said what they said, but that is irrelevant to the case. Okay? That's irrelevant to the case. They had airline tickets to prove that he was moving these girls back and forth. Period. Whether the mother drove her down one time or not, whether the mother paid for one ticket or not, the subject in hand was R. Kelly, not Alice Clary, not Angelo Clary. It was about Azriel and what he did to Azriel. Period. We're moved on from New York. Sentencing is coming. Stamp it. He's done. And as well as you took another one. Okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's lemon, there's apple, there's cherry and or strawberry, something like that. Sorry about that, guys. You know, he as a man was supposed to do the right thing. And he didn't. And he knew he wasn't doing the right thing. That's why he had all these people cover up for him. Do payouts, lie, hide people. Nobody could communicate with one another because that would be better for him that nobody knows each other. They could keep secrets. He could keep secrets with people. Attack his circle and put them against each other and things of this nature. He had total control of his world. Total control. It was hard for these girls to just up and go. It wasn't just that easy. He had total control. Mind, body, and soul. It happens. It's real. He made the girls fall in love with him. Besides the fact that he was a superstar, he was also very charming and manipulative and very sexual. They didn't know what to do with all of that. They just figured in order for me to keep him, he loves me. He's paying for this. He's got me here. He's got me there. He's doing this and he's doing that. Even though I get my ass beat every once in a while because I lied or because I looked at somebody wrong or because I asked the wrong question or because I don't know how to do the dishes, whatever it is. I lied. I called my mother. I got my ass beat behind all these things. Yeah, no, but I still love him. He's taking care of me. So he says he loves me. He truly loves me. That's why he does the things that he does. So that I can learn my lessons. He chastises me. This is what he does. He's my big papa, my daddy. Like I say, he was a pimp and trying to collect girls, sex trafficking, slaves. They were his slaves. On site. It was on site. He would be like, and they would pop out of somewhere and just start doing whatever it is he said. And if you're not going to do it, he's going to go punish your ass. He going to beat you. He going to lock you in a closet. He going to starve you. He going to have one of the other girls beat you. I know everybody says, well, then how can the girls say that they want to stay in that life? Because they loved him. Love bombing is a motherfucker. And when you're caught up in a love relationship, as so he proclaimed to them, they didn't know what to do. They're like 16. What the? I mean, he's R. Kelly and he's in his 30s and he's a whole man. How do you think that made them feel? Like they were a woman. He made them feel these ways. And that's how they stood. Even though they probably knew in their heart what they were doing was wrong, but it felt so right. Just like R. Kelly. They knew what they were doing was wrong, but he knew what he was doing was wrong, but it felt so right. Like he said, my mind's telling me no. but my body, right? Also, seems like you're ready. Girl, are you ready? Come on now. He said it to us a long time ago. We weren't paying attention to that. We didn't think he was talking about little girls. We thought he was talking about women. Like, seems like you ready, you know, the first date. In my eyes, I thought about it as a man going out with a girl and having sex on the first date. That's what I thought it was. That's what I thought it was. That's honestly, that's what I thought it was. I didn't think he was talking about a 14-year-old girl talking about I'm a 27-year-old man and are you ready to go all the way? Age ain't nothing but a number, honey. You could be 12 and I could be 30. It's okay as long as I love you. Ooh, ooh. Well, that's what I got to say about that. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what you guys said before I go out. Boom. Octopussy. RSK Nasty Enterprise. From RSK down to the janitor. Hey, I'm Nicole. Hey, I'm Noel. What's up, mama? What's up, Sharice? What's up, Karen Johnson? As long as they support this shit, he will never get help he needs. Girl. Okay? I mean, really. And boys. He's still stuck his sick in a minor. He made that choice. Right. You can't let someone know they wrong and support them. You can. That's right. You can let them know. You can let someone know they wrong and support them. RSK sentencing party, one of 3. They were young and impressionable. All of them. Exactly. They saw star in their eyes. This giant man. He's got money. Their parents are wherever they are. They're sneaking out their house. They're moving out and living with other people so they could do what they want to do with R. Kelly because he convinced them. Somehow he warped their brain. Okay? Exactly. Some grown-ass people have issues with that. You expect a 16-year-old to be able to handle it. Right. What the fuck? What the fuck? I'm 16. I would sit there with the grown-ass man and be in a child's place. Shut the fuck up. I wouldn't say nothing unless he spoke to me and told me to say something. If I'm hanging out with him and his adult male friends. What? I'm a nothing. I'm just there. And I'm pretty sure that's how he made those girls feel. Facing the fucking wall. Inadequate. She said, I'm so fucking sick of R. Kelly. The 29th can't get here fast enough. Yo, the time has been going very slow for this month. It's crazy. That I'm saying to myself, oh my God, this shit needs to hurry up already. Lord. T-Baby says, not to be nasty, but this shit makes me think of the pain the first time, and it makes me sick. Hey, what's up, Sierra Mama? Yes, baby, rewind, baby. This was a good one, baby. Poor girls, exactly. Hey, T-Baby, what's up, ladies? So, guys, if you are on the replay, please remember, make your comments in the comments section below. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Make sure you hit the notification bell on all. And please make sure you like this video. Thank you very much. And Diva is about to be out. I'm ready for Chicago too, baby. I'm ready for Chicago too. Yes, ma'am. That's what we're focusing on, Chicago. Like I said, if anything comes out, because New York, he's still gonna go through appeals afterwards. So we will be paying attention to that as well. And Matter of fact, guys, maybe tomorrow we can start a fund to start collecting for transcripts for August. Okay. I'm going to let you guys know how we're going to do it. Okay. I will put on my community board. I will post it every time, once we get to a certain amount, I'll post it and give you guys the account of the money that's being held in my savings account. All right. So guys, y'all already know Diva Divine Light is out. Peace.